All right, we should be streaming on both.
All right, checking. Looks like Twitch is twitching. Checking sound.
That's good since it wasn't twitching yesterday.
It was twitching yesterday. It wasn't twitching Friday.
Oh yeah, I don't know which day it was.
All right, Twitch is good, and checking YouTube. YouTube looks good. Sound sounds okay. So we are live. Welcome to the Foolish Tech Show. It is a Wednesday afternoon, and we're here to provide support and answer any questions about our software and services. If you'd like to do that, jump over to our page, foolishtechshow.com. You can see a couple of ways to join our IRC chat, where you can talk directly with us, asking questions or anything of that nature, or you can just help direct our conversation. Looks like we got Phoenix in there and posted a few links, and looks like Glenn and RTM Tech have posted a few links, and looks like Filth-X was having some issue with the community portal, but it looks like everything is up okay. We'll have to look more into that and see, because it looks like Glenn found that one link didn't work, but the portal home link worked, so unsure what's going on there. But otherwise, we actually have a demo to do. Yesterday we were trying to go over the locksmith stuff and didn't have stuff set up quite ready and make it easy and nice. So today we're going to do a full demo on how that works and what it is. And essentially it's a tool included in D7 Premium and d7II, so you can get it with the free version or with our subscription version. And basically what it's used for is to remove passwords off of Windows. Essentially what it will do is, if you have a system that you boot up and you can't get into because there is a password set, this has the ability to be loaded offline. So you boot up from a WinPE CD or boot up from a hard drive attached to another computer. You can run D7 or d7II, apply the locksmith patch. Then next time you boot up that computer, you can remove the password, or it's automatically removed in XP's case. And then you can get into the system, create a new password, or set the password back, or leave it blank. And then after you reboot, everything's removed and back to normal working order. So today we're going to show off using that with XP 7 and 10, and just show you how it works and everything. I do want to throw out a disclaimer though. This is only for computers you have permission from the owners or you are the actual owners of. So this is not for you to hack or crack or bypass Windows security. It will not work for domain accounts or for Microsoft accounts. So if you're on Windows 8 or 10 and using a Microsoft sign-in, those will not be able to have this patch applied, and it's only going to work for local accounts. So biggest key point there though is this is a situation where we've had a number of times where a customer drops off a computer, you go to boot it up, and there's a password on it. You can even call the customer and ask them, hey, do you know what the password is? And they're like, I don't know, or I don't remember. And
Password? What's
that's
a password?
yeah. And then they just start rattling off a bunch of passwords. So you end up with their email, bank account, all kinds of different passwords, but none of them for your Windows login. It's happened numerous times to me when I was doing computer repair. I'm sure Proctor has it happen numerous times to him. And the biggest situation is where people will set a password when they first set up Windows and then never restart or shut down their computer. They just leave it running all the time. and then when they do have to bring it in for service, they shut it down, don't even know that there's a password on it, and when you ask them, they're like, oh, well, I set it up a year ago, so don't know. So that's the perfect case for these situations. It'll also work on your own systems. Key points to remember about this fix, though, is this will remove the password entirely, so it just blanks it out. You will want to make sure that they're not using user-enabled encryption in Windows, because that can cause some issues. If you change the password, they won't be able to decrypt those files. So usually if it's a situation where someone has just been using their computer and forget that they have a password, then those cases, usually they're not using Windows user level encryption. They probably don't even know about it. So Phoenix points out a couple of other options you can use, but since this is the Foolish Tech Show, we're going to go over the ones that are built into our software. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Bitlocker, possibly Phoenix, but I'm actually referring more to Windows 7 when you have there's a Windows user level encryption. I don't know if it's called Bitlocker at the time. I think they rebranded it possibly, and Bitlocker is the one that's included with Windows 10 for sure. I'm not sure if it was included with 8 or branded as such in 8, but 10 has the most significant improvements for it. But prior to that, Windows has had encryption, user level encryption. So that does base off the password, and that could cause some problems. But yeah, we're not going to get into too much of that, because usually, like I said, if you're in these situations, it's not a situation that you would end up having to deal with often anyway. So, all right, well, I'm going to share my screen here, and we'll get this started. Basically, what I've pre-done here is I have a Windows XP machine, a Windows 7 machine, and a Windows 10 system. All the users have a password, and we're going to have go through the first process on the XP system, because there's a little bit of a trick that you have to do to get that one working. But past that, you'll just do the same thing that we're going to show you on XP side with 7 and 10 in the offline mode, and then you should be able to do it. But there's a little bit of difference between 7 and 10. So I'm going to share my screen here and wait for the stream to pick up. And once I see that stream pick up here, I'll start the virtual box off.
Hey, Phoenix points out that it was encrypted file system. I believe he's correct. Prior to it being spoken and referred to as Bitlocker. Actually, I mean, I think they're completely probably different implementations. But I have to look into that a little bit further. I'll do that while you continue.
Okay. So what I'm going to be using here is a Windows PE CD. That's always been my favorite. I'm not a big fan of cracking open a system and then pulling out the hard drive and hooking it up to another system. You can do that, but especially if you're on site, you don't want to do that and have to hook it up to a laptop or anything. So Nick did a pretty good blog post about this, creating a Windows XP CD or Windows PE CD off of Windows 8. And last time I tried it, it worked really well. I did go through and customize the ISO that was built after this with a tool like WinISO or anything you can use to edit ISOs. And I added the d7II folder to that ISO, so I always have d7II available. But I'll post the link for that in our chat there. And now we'll go ahead and start up our XP CD. And this one does have the live CD already on here. So it should boot into our live CD. Give it a moment here. There we go.
Yeah, it's basically I think what to gather out of that article that I just posted is that the encrypted file system is completely user level, whereas BitLocker is sort of machine level change, and its entire volumes that's dealing with when you're talking about BitLocker and not a file, file system, file level access.
What is that? How does it?
That's-
The file level one is based off the user password. Is the BitLocker based off user passwords at all?
No, the BitLocker is based off the trusted platform module. It requires hardware to function, basically.
So it wouldn't matter if you changed the password on a user at that point.
I do not believe so. That's not my understanding of it currently. But again, you've just seen it wasn't a terribly large amount of time that I spent doing the research. But my basis to answer that question, what I've seen is yes, it's you could change that independently, and unless you did something with the chip, you would have a problem. Now you could do something in the BIOS to reset those values. So there are ways to break that, definitely. And I mean, I wouldn't try to break it, basically, is what I'm saying.
Well, I know that with Windows 10 and BitLocker, Microsoft has a pretty easy way to recover those files, so that's not too bad. But all right, so this is the Windows PE CD. You see, you can boot into PE here or boot from the hard disk. We're going to go ahead and show you how to apply the LockSmith patch here, and that means we'll boot into the Windows PE. And this one is the XP system that has a password set on it. And like I said, for XP, we have to do a little bit extra, but not too bad, really. And
Phoenix is saying you can use BitLocker without TPM, but you could change it via GPO. Okay, well that's interesting. And I guess then it falls back to the user account. I don't know.
Maybe, possibly, but again, biggest thing is just to be aware if the user is using encryption. And again, if it's something that they forgot the password on, usually that's not a big issue.
Mm-hmm.
BitLocker does not depend on the individual user accounts associated with files. BitLocker is either on or off for all users or groups. EFS encrypts files based on the user accounts associated with it. If a computer has multiple users or groups, each of them can encrypt their own files independently.
But that implies again that the issue that we're discussing is the user password issue. So it would
wouldn't be affected. It would just be the.
It could.
BitLocker is going to be immune
file
to this.
System. It looks like it might be linked to the password, or could possibly be.
Yes, Phoenix is. I'm sorry, we're a little bit slower than you are, Phoenix. You're a lot younger than us, and you sometimes might be able to get to the answer quicker. But the learning process is important as well. So it's not having the facts; it's where you can go to get the facts. Knowing that is more useful in the long term. But please continue.
And I posted a Microsoft link to a little bit earlier about it.
All right, so now we're in our.
As did I.
Oh, Mr.
The same link.
Oh, dang.
So now that we're in our PE system, I'm going to go ahead and start up d7II here. And like I said, I had edited the ISO to have a d7II folder already there. So I'm going to go ahead and start it up here. Since it's running from an ISO, it's going to copy itself to a place where it can be writable. And then once it starts up here, we'll get it going. And this error is because I don't have internet access, so it can't check the subscription validation. But it'll still start up here because it hadn't been too long since I started this version. So, all right, when d7II starts up, you can see it automatically jumps to the offline tab because it knows it's running in a PE environment. And you do have quite a few options that you can get into here. This isn't what we're focusing on for this one, so we're not going to get into all these options, but just to point out and be aware that those are there. What we're talking about is the password removal. So you see here, d7II LockSmith. Go ahead and apply that. It gives you a prompt here and explains some about it. I did make this prompt a little bit bigger so everyone can read it a little bit better. So essentially what this says is in XP Server 2003, creates a temporary service that starts and then launches a batch file invisibly to remove all user password account or user account passwords. Then it removes any modifications it made and then removes the batch file. This directory may remain and it may be under support or another folder, but essentially if this directory is there, you can delete it if you want to. And then you will still have a password prompt, and that's going to be for all versions of Windows, but you should be able to just hit enter and go past it because it's essentially giving it a blank password. So that's what that one is. And with Vista Plus, basically, you'll have to go into the user accessibility icon, and when you click that, it'll actually launch the utility to remove the passwords, and we'll show that off when we get to the Windows 7 side and 10 side. But basically, you'll just hit that make modifications there. So we'll say make modifications. Want to make it to the C drive, you can go in and double check, make sure that the C drive is your Windows partition, which if we look here, it does look like the Windows partition, so we're good there. And we'll go ahead and say OK. And modifications are complete, so we say OK there. This will close out. Now, like I said, for XP, we are going to have a little bit extra to do. So what we want to do is go to the C drive here and find that change that it made. So we can see here it went into support d7II LockSmith. And we have a batch file there, but that's only half of what we need there. And for XP, you will need to go into your third-party tools. So we'll go into our third-party tools, which I think it copied it here. Yep. And we'll want to copy over this file. So again, this is only for XP that you have to do this. You don't have to do this for Windows 7 or 10 because it uses IFEO modifiers. But for XP, you will want to copy this file over to the local hard drive. So where d7II copies its locksmith.cmd, you want to put this srvany.exe in there as well. So once you do that, you're all set, and we can reboot this system and be able to have the password blanked on XP automatically. So we're restarting here. And since we want to boot to the regular OS, not the live CD implementation, we're going to choose this boot from hard disk option. And that will start up Windows XP here. And for XP, you do want to give it a couple moments for it to install that service, make the changes, and apply everything. And usually it only takes a couple minutes here, so we're just going to sit for a moment. And what it's doing right now is it's starting up that service, applying some changes, removing the password, and then cleaning itself up there. And looks like our hard drive activity has kind of died down, so I think we should be good. And blam, no password. So password's been removed, and we were able to get into the system and start working with it. So we'll see that the d7II stuff is still there, but when we restart, we'll go ahead and set a password so you can see that it doesn't remove it after the second time. And exit and exit. And we'll restart here. So again, once the password's been removed, you are safe to delete that folder that had the LockSmith and SRV Banny in there. And I'm going to go ahead and take out the live CD so that doesn't bother us here. And now we're booting back into XP again. And we have our password back. So that is how you do that on XP. Like I said, the offline mode is going to be the same for Vista Plus. So you would boot into your live CD or hook it to another system, apply that locksmith pass to the correct drive, and then you will be good. So we'll just show you what happens when you go into the login screen for 7 and 8 here. So here is 7 starting up. And give it a moment. Running all of these things all at once kind of puts a hurting on my system. Alright, so again, we've booted into a live CD, same way we did with XP just a moment ago, applied the locksmith patch. We're at a user password. I believe if we go ahead and try to do it, there's a password there. So for Vista Plus, Vista 7, 8, and 10, you're going to want to go to the ease of access or user accessibility icon here. And when you click that, it'll do the d7II LockSmith instead. And that's because it has an IFEO modifier set to do that. And when you say do it, it's going to remove the password. So it'll tell you the password's been removed and the modifications have been removed as well. So we can just close that out. And now log in with no password. So same thing again, just to show you on the Vista Plus side. If we go in and set a password for this person, we'll see that the modifications have been removed. And we'll create the password. Now we'll go ahead and restart the system. shortly. We'll see, we got a password on it again, and if we go to the user accessibility, brings up the user accessibility as expected. So that is how you do it on 7. Pretty much the exact same process on 10, but just to show off it works on 10. We'll show you here. So I'm going to start up my 10 box again. Did the live CD already with a user password set on this 10 system. Went into the live CD, applied the locky patch, and then it's just booted up to the login screen. So we'll go ahead and test here. There's a password on the system. So we go down to the user accessibility here in 10. And for 10, I did notice it takes a little bit longer for that accessibility stuff to start up here. So let's just give it a minute. Also, remember for 10, it will not do domain or Microsoft accounts. So if you're not using a local account for Windows 10, this is not going to work. Domains have a little bit different setup, so that's why it doesn't work with domains. But we can see here, after it took a couple minutes and it launched the d7II LockSmith, I don't want to remove the passwords from those 2 accounts since they're built-in Windows accounts. But for the testing account, we'll go ahead and say do it. It completed the password removal and undid system modifications. So we'll close out that. And no password. Yeah, well, with and Phoenix points out because all the passwords are on the server in Active Directory, and that's true for domain accounts. But Microsoft did something funky with their Windows Live accounts. And if you're using a Microsoft account, it essentially applies the same way as a domain server, domain group password would be, but there's no real server for it to communicate with. So I've actually had issues where right now, since I've changed my Microsoft account password, my login for all of my other accounts different than what's my actual Windows account, so it's kind of funky there. And essentially what I'm saying is when I changed my Microsoft account password, my Windows password stayed the same. It didn't end up changing, so. So we're going to go into settings and set the password again here.
Testing.
Yep, we can hear you.
Yay. Wanted to throw in on that. Yes, it does not reset your password. If you do it via your Microsoft account or via your computer, I'm not sure why they're not doing that. That doesn't make a ton of sense. But you should like have the option to enable it with like 2-step or something. But
you would think so, but I would imagine it's something with the fact that internet account connection or internet connection may not always be available. So
yeah. But you'll note that it does communicate with Microsoft servers just like it would with an AD server. It just and if you don't have the internet available, it uses cached credentials just like if the workstation were offline.
Yeah.
Until it can verify that password again with the server.
Well, I guess my biggest issue.
I guess you have to change them both independently if you do that. Change them, or do you? Or
My
does it, or does it like use your thing as a basis and then it's just separate sort of, and then it doesn't matter?
it seems like it's separate because I have not figured out how to change my Windows password without creating a whole new user.
It's probably just separate from the live. You're probably required to have the live thing, to start, but then it probably clones that, to the actual Active Directory type server.
Yeah.
But
Well,
it's
when I
maybe.
changed my Microsoft account password, I actually did it through Windows, and it launches like a Microsoft change your password page, and I changed the password there. That changed it for my Microsoft account, but it did not change it for my Windows account.
Weird.
So
I
my
haven't
Windows,
seen
But
that.
did you? But did you just say you were trying to change your Windows password through Windows,
yeah,
and it launched the Microsoft thing, and it changed the
yep,
Microsoft account, but not your?
yep. And
Perhaps that was a bug.
what
I haven't seen
aggravates
that
me,
happen, Brantley. It should change it for the computer password too.
yeah, maybe it was, I did do it like when Windows 10 first came out, so maybe it's something they quietly fixed.
Yeah, I haven't. See, yeah, I haven't tried it since a while, actually, myself, any of it. So,
But what's aggravating,
the only thing I know consistently is that it does still communicate with like an Active Directory style, because I see that all the time when something's offline. But
yeah.
you know,
What does aggravate me though is the fact that now if I set up Windows 10 on any system, it's going to have a different password than what all my other Windows 10 systems have right now.
hmm
But anyway,
but when you go online and you enter in a different password than what's cached, just like with on a domain, you'll have to have an internet connection, or you have to use the previously cached password. You've got that internet connection, it'll verify that if it's time or if it doesn't match the cache.
yeah, I'll probably go through and try fixing or changing my password again, see if it does actually update it.
Yeah, it may. It may. I would imagine it would.
It'd be aggravating.
But I don't know. I mean, that does open up, since you didn't initiate the password change from that PC, it does open up the possibility of receiving then, just another exploit, essentially, of receiving the command, via a supposedly secure channel or whatever that says, hey.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right. Apparently,
Change your
Windows
password.
10 decided to do updates since it had internet connection, so we're waiting on that.
I love it. How's the password thing? Did you figure out the thing from yesterday?
Yeah.
I've seen the demo. It's been going great. Awesome job. But by the way,
So with Windows XP, it doesn't copy the srv any.exe, and you just copy that folder from your third-party tools over, and it works perfect. So that does work there.
you have to manually copy the folder over.
You have to manually copy that one file over to that folder.
File. Oh man, bug fix. I see. This is one of those things where there was an update and a necessity to do it a different way on XP, and it seems like I don't really remember the history of it. I know it changed several times. I changed it around several times, but I honestly thought I did away with the whole SRV and batch file thing and went to an executable. But and then the other thing was like, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look into that again in that case. Well, more than just the bug fix, because I think that I'm like having a hard time trying to figure out what would have stopped me from just using just an executable that without a user interface or anything. If why wouldn't I do that? Why would I be messing around with the batch file thing still?
Yeah. So now we can see Windows 10 finally started back up. It does have a password, and if we click the user accessibility, it's actually going to launch the user accessibility. So everything's been removed and back to setting. So that is d7II's Locksmith. Like I said, it's in d7II, our subscription service, as well as d7 Premium, the free version original d7 that we're giving out. So you can use it in both those situations. All of this was brought up because James at CompCorrect had a question about it, and in his case, for some reason, the modification didn't remove from Windows 7. And again, after telling him that it's an IFEO modification, he was able to use d7II to remove that IFEO modification. Everything works.
And you know the thing about using tricks like that to accomplish tasks like this easily is that for one, like at least on the guaranteed for the Vista and above, it's always going to work because just it's different than, it's like you're logged in as the system and you're just net user removing the passwords. I mean, it's like that, from the login screen. It's not like trying to, you don't have to worry about the constantly changing methods of the SAM database and accessing this and the data from there and whatnot. But
yeah, and that's one of the reasons why that tool is a little bit better than possibly some of the other options like Conboot and things like that.
Though it does take a little more time, I guess, was the trade-off. There's a little more time involved in that you have to load up a live Windows PE or something like that, or attach to what I always attach to a system, but when I can. But
Proctor, I stopped screen sharing if you want to switch the scene back. And also, Glenn had asked about it working on XP, so we went over that portion for XP as well. So yeah.
That's what I was concerned with was that thing, but I have to check into that again and see what was different there. But it's like just not to back anything up. There's no. I'm sorry. I'm pondering now.
No worries. So Phoenix had pointed out he's going to make a Docker image for pinging websites with that setup that he's had before. So check that out once he gets that uploaded. Futures Tech Eric posted a link that's worth reading. Ars Technica, Cable Lobby Group, broadband competition is bad for consumers. Yeah, obviously. That's total BS. But anyway, bunch of other stuff there. Don't trust Microsoft with your passwords, but I'm using a Microsoft account and I prefer that, so I don't mind Microsoft having that one password. And Futures Tech Eric points out a link for Michael to check out. No more get out of jail free card for Cryptxxx Ransomware. And Phoenix had earlier posted a link about that Cryptxxx hardware as well being involved. I'll repost that there again. And she had a few other links here. Let's see what we got. Top 4 data breaches reported in the last 24 hours. We're going to end up having to have like a ticker system just to show off data breaches, I think. It'll be like the stock exchange, but just this company breached, this company breached, this company breached. Some data about it. British hacker wins the legal battle over encryption keys. I didn't read too much into that article, but it was something about them having to force hand over encryption keys or something like that, and we've kind of talked about that in the past, but there's the article if you want to read it from Phoenix. Here's another one from Phoenix with WhatsApp came out with desktop software. I hate WhatsApp, so I can't really recommend that one. Facebook is open sourcing its capture the flag stuff, so you can check that out. Pornhub is coming out with a bug bounty, and it's a reward of $25,000. I would say, why don't you just give me free porn for life? But
I just want to interject here. I just realized that you were talking about something like, and we were not doing the thumbs up for that, Proctor and I. We were just doing something back and forth, and I didn't want to interrupt by affirming or retyping, and then I realized what you were saying.
You're not thumbs up for free porn for life?
No, I didn't even know you were talking about it.
That's an excellent.
Right as he said that, we're both like, yeah. You're like, yeah. You're holding your arms up.
Yeah.
He also points out that the UK government is cracking down on online piracy, which they've been doing for quite some time now. They're not big fans of VPNs over there. They're almost at a point of a Great British firewall, so they're kind of following in China's footsteps, I feel. And Adobe Flash has a 0-day attack or a 0-day attack out there. That's not news. Like, that happens every day, I think. So I got a couple links here. What?
Did you already go over what Cherie said? Asked?
What did Cherie say?
Did you hear about the hack of ADP Payroll systems?
I have not. I do know a number of companies in the past that I've worked for use ADP Payroll too. So, do you have a link to?
I'm aware of a lot of companies that do as well. It's a very popular piece of software. Very popular company for that stuff.
Cherie, do you have a link about the ADP Payroll system so we could see more about what's going on there? Ouch, Shook. That is not USB 3 performance.
No, that's definitely USB 2. Would be a cable issue. I'd check the cable. Would be our first thing, and then maybe a drive, some other problem.
Looks like Phoenix beat you to it, Cherie. He's got the link to the ADP hack there. So, otherwise, have y'all ever wondered why it's so expensive to fly? This video breaks down everything about what goes into the price of flying. You would think it was like, oh, jet fuel's got to cost a lot. But apparently jet fuel and employees and taxes and other overhead is what actually causes it to be very expensive. So I thought that was a really interesting video.
Who published the video?
I don't know. It wasn't American Airlines.
Okay, so it wasn't the airline itself that published the video, though, or an organization empowered by them to do so. Yeah. Okay.
No. But I mean, everything that they went through seemed fairly legit. So
that's a tough part. I mean, it's really easy to nag, or it's really easy to harp up on some bigger corporations, and sometimes, but they're not necessarily always out to get us, I suppose. And I don't look at that enough. I feel like I should look at that type of thing more. So maybe I'll be viewing that video. Thank you.
It was interesting, and you do forget a lot of the overhead. Like, they have to pay airports, they have to pay the airline company, they have to pay the employees for all of those. So there's a lot of overhead to having the flight. Plus, the plane itself costs like $1 billion and different things of that nature. So, and planes have life cycles. I think that was probably the most interesting tidbit I learned from that video. That essentially the life cycle of a plane counts up each time it takes off and lands, and that's because the pressurization of the plane taking off and landing causes stress and wear and tear on the plane. But at that point, it doesn't matter how far or how long the plane flies. So a plane that takes off and just goes one city over is the same amount of wear and tear and gets the same life cycle count as one that takes off and flies halfway across the world. I thought that was pretty interesting. I never thought about that. And RTM Tech points out some of the 80,000 cycles for jets, and fuel and crew costs are major factors for airlines, but also the taxes looked like they were a major cost, and actually the taxes ended up being more than the fuel in their breakdown. So here's a really interesting video of a drone balancing a glass of orange juice and even doing flips in the air and not spilling the orange juice. That was pretty cool. And speaking of orange, orange is the new black. Orange is the new black has a trailer out, and it comes out in June for their season 4. And it looks like things are going crazy again in prison. Imagine that. I wasn't too big a fan of their last season, so hopefully maybe they pull themselves back out.
Yeah, I wasn't a big fan of the last season. The first 2 were pretty good.
Yeah.
But I thought she was only supposed to be in prison for a year originally. Seems like she's been in prison forever now.
Yeah. I don't even remember why she went to prison. So
she was a courier for a drug cartel.
Oh yeah. That Alex and all that stuff. So
yeah.
Yeah. The new season looks like they're introducing a whole lot of new people. They have new inmates and new prison guards, and everyone's gonna hate her. So stuff like that. Futures Technell asked if anyone's seen Captain America Civil War yet, and no, I have not seen the new Spider-Man movie yet. I've been looking forward to it, though.
Wow, what?
Yeah, Spider-Man's in Captain America movie. I've heard that Black Panther's performance was really well done as well, so...
I've heard nothing, but it was just freaking awesome.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good reviews about it.
Yeah.
And that they're going to have more Civil War stuff in the future. So, the more I've looked at Gizmodo, I've been more and more worried and concerned about them just having clickbait titles. But this one is pretty interesting. Supposedly, someone caught a police SUV in Pennsylvania disguising itself as a Google Maps Street View car, but it just has a automatic license plate reader on it.
Nice. Is that for real?
I don't know. Again, I kind of question the authenticity of Gizmodo.
I was like, aren't they like Engadget also the same people, or are they different?
I don't know. But just the clickbait things I've read off of Gizmodo have been...
There's been a bunch of that stuff. Gadget's horrible for it, too.
Yeah, Batman vs. Superman was terrible.
Brantley, I didn't think it was that bad, to tell you the truth. I was going, maybe it's because of everything that you said about it, but I was going into it with just like it was going to be, piece of trash, and I there were clearly flaws in it. I not gonna dispute that, but it was watchable. It was watchable.
Comparative to how well they've done the reboots of Batman,
in comparison to those other ones, yes,
it was just absolutely crap.
They needed to feel it together a little bit better. It wasn't well thought out or planned, I thought. So for those reasons, in complete agreement. you. But is it passable? I mean, it's actually, there's worse movies that come to mind and that I could name. So you know, in all fairness, just, you know, it's not as miserable maybe as you
Well,
make
it's not.
it.
It's like watching that movie did not make me feel like I didn't waste my time watching that movie. That's
It
how I
was
classify it.
a relatively, you know, entertaining enough couple hours. It wasn't. I mean, again, if you looked at it, if you tore it apart, it's easy to criticize. You know, they give you a lot of examples to do that. The sort of different
Well, moving
perspectives
on, because
of the
you're the
characters.
only person in the world that has that opinion of
Uh,
that movie. So,
okay.
um,
Sorry.
so this one's from Engadget actually, and I was quite excited about this.
Worse.
Google, what? What's
Worse.
worse?
Engadget.
Oh, well, they don't have clickbait titles, so I feel better about them.
Yeah. Oh, they do. Oh, they do a lot. Oh, yes, they do.
But this one is about Google Translate is now available for any app on any Android phone. So you can have it running as a pop-up box and be able to translate stuff just on the screen. So I'm guessing OCRing it. That's pretty nice. I'm really excited about Google Translate. Like, if that brings us back to Babylonia, that will be awesome, so that we don't have language barriers anymore. Like, I was really excited about their feature where you just point the camera at uh, a sign and it instantly translates it for you. That is so helpful to people going in countries that they can't read the language. But what I'm really excited about is, especially with the VR and augmented reality stuff being more of a focus going in the future, having that app there and being fully fledged and well sorted out is going to be amazing. Like, if you're able to, even like with Google Glass, if they get that revised and better, having Google Glass and Google Translate would be almost essential going to countries where you don't speak the language, I feel. Oh, here's one that you can do with the Raspberry Pi Zero that you can't do with the Odroid. And Michael, you really can't do this with the Odroid because the Odroid is way bigger than the Raspberry Pi Zero.
No, they're this. Yes, then the Pi Zero. Yes, absolutely. Yep. Okay, yeah, yep. I'll buy that. Although there are smaller Odroids, but anyway, yeah, you're
so
good.
This one is a extremely pocket-sized video game console, and it looks like it's no bigger than a Nintendo controller. So that is pretty awesome. We had talked about on the show earlier that going to Yellow Alert. We had talked about earlier on the show some duplicate file finders, and looks like Gemini 2 has released a new version with improved similar detection and a nicer interface. So I'm going to have to check that one out, see if it goes through my massive amounts of duplicate files any better than any of the other ones did. Yep, Phoenix, I'm super excited about Mr. Robot Season 2 coming out. That's going to be awesome. I can only imagine where they're going to take it. Hey, are you tired of buying skillets from the store? Why don't you just make your own aluminum skillet? Aluminum's pretty easy to melt, and you can build your own skillet from it with this thing here. So check that out. I know some are not fans of global climate change, but this is an interesting graphic for it. showing the global temperatures over the past 150 years or so, and how it radically jumped to increasing once the Industrial Revolution started off, it appears. But just a cool looking graphic too. I'd never seen data laid out in that style of manner, so I thought that was actually pretty cool, just in itself there. And boy, I loved lava lamps growing up. This lava lamp beats all the lava lamps I've ever seen. So it actually has Star Wars pieces in there, and they're having like a incredible space battle while the lava lamp's on. That's pretty awesome. And it's only for $35, so check it out if you like Star Wars and lava lamps. It's pretty cool. Hey, who likes SanDisk? Anyone? Anyone like SanDisk?
Yeah, SanDisk is fine. There's nothing terribly wrong with them, and their X400 line is actually pretty competitive for planar or for.
Well, how do you feel about this then? Because they've just been bought by Western Digital.
Oh, well, I don't know. And if it makes Western Digital better, then yes, I guess. But I've had questions about them recently. But anyway, interesting news.
Oh, Futures Eric, yes, melt your own adventuring tools, or the ring that controls them all. Michael, you totally should have done this for your graduation and showed off how smart you were with your programming degree.
And done what? Let me see.
It's a DIY graduation cap.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The LEDs on your graduation cap and all.
Yeah. I saw everyone going all of their way to make those cute. No, well, not like that, but they, just had stuff on it. But I wasn't. I don't know. I'm not into that type of flower display. Even if
flowery display.
Oh, I mean, it went very well. It was very pleasant, and it was surprising they got it done as quick.
At the last minute.
No, it was surprisingly the event was quick. I mean, for 650 people or whatever going through, I would have thought it would have taken more than 2 hours, but they managed to get it in just 2 hours, and so we were home reasonably by like 9:30 or 9:45, which was earlier than we expected actually. So that was nice, and I had 10 family members in attendance. So that was, it worked out really well. I thought it was odd, though, that I had all these classes with all these, different professors, educators, whatever, and I had one class with one English. It was totally unrelated to my major, just to, doing it to check off a requirement, of course. And he sent me a personal. I didn't actually see him, but he saw me graduate, and he sent me a congratulations email, and he remembered who I was, and he remembered our previous conversations and stuff like that, and so threw in a joke and stuff like that. But it was nice that he kept that he felt he kept in touch, and he I wasn't just a number, to him as a student. I was an actual person. So I wrote back to him mentioning how impactful that was for me to receive from him. Yeah. So
that's good. At least there's one person out there that doesn't treat you like a number.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We love you, Michael. Congratulations.
Number 2.
Yeah, we love you, number 2.
I think you're okay.
And that's a 0-based scale. Sorry, I'm coding.
So, if you like eating meat, don't watch this video or read this article, because I have a strong feeling that you won't like it. Nick, if you want to convince people of your hate for hot dogs, they also have a study on hot dogs as well as burgers. So if you want to tell people how bad hot dogs really are, just know the same can be applied to
Well,
hamburgers.
hey, well, you know, I do need to know actually, and we got to see what's on this list. Not like the Hebrew National and Nathan's on this list, because
I don't know. Basically, what I
think-
gathered though is they're doing molecular breakdown of the foods that they tested, so I thought that was pretty interesting and like scientific.
Ooh, some contain human DNA.
Do what?
Yeah, you know that guy that works at the hamburger.
Charlton
place?
Heston said it best. And listen, just if you're worried about these articles about the food and about the hot dogs and about the hamburgers, go watch yourself Soylent Green, a cute little movie that they did in 1973. I
Lab
tried to
technician.
recently rewatch it.
Sorry.
And it's a little dated, and Charlton Heston is a little interesting in his ways to see it today again. I haven't watched it in a while, but it's
What are you talking about?
well, Soylent Green. If you've ever seen this sci-fi by Charlton Heston, it was it's very interesting, and the end result was unique for the time at least. Now, some of the articles you're talking about remind me of that, so go ahead and take a look. Oh, don't ruin it, Eric. God,
Apparently, Eric's watched it before.
I would refer you to the the Omega Man or something for Charlton Heston, but
well, I like Omega Man.
They already had to redo that 2 or 3 times already.
Well, I liked Omega Man, but
actually
it wasn't as good as or I thought Omega Man was better than Soylent Green actually. But
Omega Man was actually a reproduction of an earlier movie. I think
I'm pretty sure you're right.
A similar name, based off of a novel.
Yeah, it definitely was. It definitely was.
Second, and they're all like a little bit different. Like the one that a few years back with Will Smith, I think, was in.
Yeah, so, I mean, 73. You're right. If you haven't seen it in 2016, you're probably not going to see it, I guess, at this point. Good point. But anyway, go watch Charlton Heston's movies. They'll at least give you a little bit of a laugh. I mean, he's a little misogynistic. He's a little, he shows for the time that he acted in, but it's kind of funny if you look back on it. At least
they remade another one that I really.
Context.
You would be a better candidate than Trump.
A lot of people probably would agree to that. God rest his soul. But anyway,
moving on from that, Enigma Ransomware has targeted Russian-speaking users, so hopefully they're not based in Russia, because now they're going to be attacked.
Andromeda Strain, that's the one.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Not Charlton Heston, just
Yeah, that's not Charlton Heston at all.
Oh no, that's not at all. But that's just what I was thinking of, because the one I like from one movie, sci-fi. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So apparently, the Panama Papers that were leaked, they now have a searchable database for it, so you can follow the money on your own.
Yeah, that's a couple of days old, but yeah. That's they're a larger amount and much more accessible, from what I understand. Is that what you got from that article? I haven't read it yet, but
yeah, it just seemed interesting on the fact that they have a searchable database for it now. So, something else for the Raspberry Pi that you can't do on the Droid is create a Doom 2 blood chainsaw enclosure. So that's pretty sweet.
By the way, you could fit an Odroid in the same enclosure. Hi, so they should work.
What next?
Did you mention my thing on the Friday show about the vacuum tube amp?
Yeah,
Yes.
I think I mentioned it on Friday actually. On Monday.
Awesome, yeah. Like I was, okay, yeah. And it was Friday or Monday, I don't know. I saw it like the night before, and I was so happy. I was like, I gotta put this in the chat because I ain't gonna be there tomorrow. But wow.
Yeah, it was
It
cool.
was a Pi Zero.
I mean, that's just so. I just don't even know, but that's so neat. Love it too, man.
So A lot of talk about Tesla cars, and this article is interesting in a couple of ways. So apparently, some teens lost control while driving their parents' Tesla. Boy, I would not have wanted to survive, although that wreck looked like they shouldn't have survived. Apparently, because Tesla doesn't care about the engine, it crumples fairly well and protects the passengers better than a combustion car would.
Right. Well, they're all like even your combustion engines. They're all like that.
Yeah, well, the combustion engines crumple, but they have more. They have to be aware
the block
that
is going to
crumple. Yeah, if you crumple too much of that combustion engine, you could have explosions and
right.
fiery
And well,
outbursts.
even still, and the block is just going to be a solid for a good bit of it.
Also,
Yeah,
with combustion engines, more often than not, you get hit hard enough, especially head on, they'll just end up in the front seat with you. I've seen it.
Yeah.
And that's the engine block because that's not going to crumple. So.
Yeah, the block's not going to go anywhere. But the car itself, though, like every car since like 2090, and really they've been, I guess, doing it for so many years, decades, that they are designing them to fail. The car is designed to fail, and they say it's designed to fail safely. But that involves, taking the brunt of the impact and absorbing all, and that's all great and stuff. I mean, that's one way to do it, but just so you know, it's not like it used to be.
Yeah,
Sure.
well, it is safer, but it looks like electronic cars may be even more safer because of not having that engine block. And
We'll see. The issue is then when you get a fender bender and the same thing happens like that picture, but it was just a fender bender. You was doing 20 miles an hour or something.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen.
I don't think
it won't look quite that bad, but it will
Yeah.
total it bad enough to where you can no longer drive that car.
Yeah.
You're buying a new one. So
Possibly.
think about that.
They don't make Ford Torinos anymore that just push the cows out of the way.
That's right. He remembered that. I forgot that. I hit a cow in my 71 Torino one time, and like it really didn't even dent. Like there was like the tiniest little impression in the hood. It was like the hood was like it was like a little crooked, like a little, like it didn't warp, like the hood, it didn't bend or anything. Like it just like was just like a little crooked, like, so when it went down, like one end was a little higher up than the other end when it was resting all the way down. That's like the only thing that happened to that car. And I hit a cow. I was doing like at least 50 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
I didn't hit the whole cow front on, like I hit his rear end as he was crossing the road, the highway. And I was like, what was that? And our friend Adam was, and Proctor, are you with Adam or were you with me?
I was with you.
You were with me. Okay, he was behind us then, and I
think he called. He was like, "You just hit a cow."
We had the CB thing, I think, going on.
Yeah, maybe it might have been.
I don't know, but yeah, and I hit, and he's like, you just. I was like, what was that? Oh, I want a dog, because I was still moving, But like, I know like half of the car, like it covered like half of the front of the car. I think. Don't you think? I seem to remember the tail like whiplashing onto the hood.
I thought we like hit a dog or something. I had no idea it was as big as a cow.
Yeah, I thought it was a large dog.
Said, hey, there's a kid. We just hit a cow.
Yeah, because it didn't like stop us,
Yeah, it wasn't much of an event at all.
It was like, wow.
PETA, please forgive us. So, otherwise,
farm out there, who knew?
Yeah, I know.
This is a cool article on checking if your trim is enabled on your SSDs, and this may not be enabled if you clone your drive to a new SSD. Most of the Windows installs will automatically do it on newer versions, 8 and 10, I believe. But good to check and make sure the trim's enabled.
Future Tech, Eric, it was we were actually on the highway close to a couple of roads with the word dairy and the name of them. But
Yeah.
so, but yeah, I know we see some dogs that big too. It was like, and we had the feedback of the guy behind us, but anyway, it was funny. You do that? You can't do that in the car now. You can't even
if you did
like
that in the car now,
can't
you'd
even
probably be dead.
If you probably total lost your car if you took your foot off the brake and weren't paying attention and ran into one of those obnoxiously in the way cement posts at a drive-through fast food place right before the window where they don't want you to get within 3 or 4 feet of the window for some reason, so everybody's got to like reach. Yeah, like if you like ran into one of those by accident just without your foot on the brake but not on the gas either. I mean, you would do some serious damage to your vehicle. And I remember doing that in the Torino to like, I ran into, they took my foot off the brake and like looking in the floorboard for something or whatever and run into like a street light or it doesn't matter. You're in a parking lot, you run into the big cement street light thing and it's fine. You don't care about the little scuff on the front of the bumpers.
So more reasons why not to drive in front of or behind Nick. Phoenix points out.
I was very young then. I'm sorry. Let's move on.
Phoenix points out a easy installer for Arch Linux. So check that out if you're into those. He's in Linux mode today, so setting up Docker and writing Bash. Awesome.
He'll be doing that in Windows soon, huh?
Yeah, you can. I think right now they released the preview build for that already. So
really, is it on? I don't know. I'm like not on the. Is it on the fast one or the slow one? I don't know. I'm just not on the
I would assume it'd be on the fast one.
I don't even think I'm on the preview. I think I'm off that.
I think you went off because you were having so much trouble with it.
Yeah.
So one more article for today, and this one was really interesting for me. So this company, and I posted the Slashdot link because there's a few links off of that article that you can check out, plus all the awesome comments from Slashdotters. This company, Unanimous AI, had placed a bet on the Kentucky Derby this past weekend, and they used a swarm intelligence platform. So it gathers data from lots and lots of people and compiles them and then tries to make a educated guess off of that. And apparently it did extremely well because it was able to predict the superfecta or surfecta or whatever it's called, basically the top 3 positions for the Kentucky Derby. They got all 3 of those right, and like the bet is like 540 to 1 odds. So they made a $20 bet and came out with $11,000.
Wow.
So betting may be a little bit harder in the future if this technology catches on, because probably not too many bookies are going to appreciate using that technology. So some pretty good links and articles in there if you want to check out more about it and see everything that's in there. Pretty cool stuff in there. So yeah, and the swarm intelligence, it's kind of like it's backwards of what you would always think. Like usually you think if you get a large group of people that it becomes stupider, but apparently with this software it can actually make them smarter. So interesting to me, to say the least. So we have passed our hour, and I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up for today. Unless anybody else has anything cool or interesting they want to throw out there. Going once, going twice. All right. So thanks everyone for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. And again, we're here to answer any questions about our software services. And thanks everyone for joining us in our live chat. And bringing up all the debates and topics, and hope to see you tomorrow and in the future. Otherwise, hope you have a great rest of the week, and if your week wasn't great going forward, I hope it gets better. So, thanks everyone, and take us on out, Proctor.
All right.
Bye, Internet.